What's happening, comic fans? Hope everyone is doing well today. It's Mike from the Hardcover Comic here. Today, I wanted to talk about 5 more short stories. This is, I think, part 3 at this point. I've got plenty more to go. There's plenty of short comic book stories outside of the big two, and within the big two. I might have to do one of those as well that I highly recommend checking out. Today, we're going to talk about 5 more, so let's dive in. Just really quickly, going to do my due diligence. Please subscribe if you haven't already. We post content regularly. You hit the notification bell. YouTube will let you know whenever we post a new video or go live with one of our late night streams. They are pretty spontaneous. Check out Dr. Squatch. They are a soap subscription company. They'll basically bring soap or whatever men's healthcare grooming products you decide to order through them to your door. They have really cool scents, and they're also chemical and paraben free, so it's great for your body. Matt uses them. He absolutely loves them. Their newest scent is a cold brew coffee scent, so apparently you smell like an iced mocha. Really cool stuff. With the link down in the description below, you'll get free shipping for the entirety of your subscription, so be sure to use that link if you're interested. And also check out our Patreon. There's a link down below. We do hardcover comic giveaways and, give away digital codes and whatnot whenever we can. It's great. Check out the link down in the description below for more details. Now, getting right into it, if you're not aware what this is, I basically talk about 5 short story comic books, sort of to break between, give you a little bit of a break between your long runs. It can get a little tedious reading the same book for, hundreds of issues. So, little things to break it up here and there, try out new titles. The first one I wanted to talk about is called Breath of Bones. This was a 3-issue miniseries. I think it was published through Dark Horse, if I'm not mistaken. Written by Steve Niles, artwork by, I believe it's David Wachter. A fantastic little book. Again, 3 issues, so it's not a super long story, very, very short. But it essentially follows a little boy who, has grown up and he's remembering the past. When he was, when his village was attacked. He's a Jewish boy who grew up in a Jewish village in Europe, of course. And, one day an American plane crashes close by to his village. Him and the people get together and help out the pilot who happened to survive the crash. But, a plane crash is going to bring Nazis. And that's exactly what happens. And without giving too much away, I also, with the artwork I'm showing, I didn't want to show any of the golem sequences. Since it's such a short story, I wanted to keep it within the first issue with what I'm showing, maybe a little bit of issue 2. But it's really, really fantastic to see all these characters interact and come together, helping each other out against a united evil. And the artwork is absolutely beautiful. There's no color, unfortunately, so if that's a deal breaker for you, you should still give this a shot. It's really wonderful. Again, it's a really short story. You'll read it in a sitting, but it's a really feel-good story. It's great. A great little, look at a Jewish mythos with the golem. And it's really fun. It's beautifully done. I really enjoyed it. It's a story I've reread multiple times. It's a nice little palate cleanser since it does stand out so much. And, it's a nice little book about dreams and just trying to be good people. Breath of Bones, check it out. The next story I wanted to talk about, I happen to have within this little custom bind I made for my Grant Morrison anthology. It is Sea Guy. Now, this is technically kind of me cheating, but it's 2 minis in one because the whole thing is one story. So basically, Sea Guy was written by Grant Morrison with artwork by Cameron Stewart and I believe colors by Dave Stewart. And it's a fun little book. So the first 3 issues, it follows a character named Sea Guy with his companion Chubby the Tuna, who's hilarious. He's a great little side character, and it just follows them and sort of introduces you to the world they're in. This sort of Mickey Eye world where Mickey Eye is like the Mickey Mouse of this world, and he's this icon, and it's sort of like the whole world's a Disneyland. But that wasn't always the case. Back before they had a little crisis of their own, there used to be actual superheroes within this universe. Some of them do still exist, like Doc Hero and Sea Dog. But after the anti-dad fight, things really changed in the Sea Guy universe. So that's sort of where you start off. And I don't know how this was released when it was published, but the first 3 issues really don't end off on a great note. And then the second miniseries, it almost feels like it was sort of a joke. Like, here, we're going to make this story that a lot of people will hate the ending for, but there's really another continuation coming later. So it's 6 issues total, and it follows this character Sea Guy. He becomes a hero. You get introduced to characters like She-Beard, again, Sea Dog, Doc Hero, and how they influence the universe and what they're going through. And it's a really cool mind-bending book. It's got its it's got its tragedies and its uplifting moments. Definitely, there's definitely a yin and yang to this book. Um, and the artwork's fantastic. There are some really fun ideas explored here. The whole Mickey eye thing is great. Everything sort of has this eye vibe to it. It's really really fun, and again a really great change of pace because there's so much happening in it, so many little plot points and character interactions that you're keeping track of and enjoying. It's really wonderful. I highly recommend Sea Guy by Grant Morrison and Cameron Stewart. Got another Avatar Press recommendation, specifically another Warren Ellis 5 issue mini series called Super God. This was with artwork by Gary Gastani. A wonderful little mini series that is very, very tragic and definitely not for kids at all. It basically follows this guy named Simon Redden, this doctor, scientist sort of gentleman who basically is facing the apocalypse and is sort of recording the events that occurred to lead up to this point based on his memory as he's taking drugs and doing all this crazy stuff. And basically, what the story is about is Warren Ellis is exploring the idea of an actual war of nations using gods. So basically, it starts off with England getting their own. They send some folks out into space, and they return as this three-headed god, and things spiral from there. So India makes their own, Iraq makes their, all these countries start and nations start making their own superheroes. Of course, America does as well, and they're all sort of infusing their culture and their history and their religion into these gods, and they're sort of seeing what comes out of it. And it's all none of it's going according to plan, and it's really great because Gary Gastani's artwork is fantastic. I don't know any other titles he's worked on, and I'm very interested to see what else he has done because his artwork is wonderful. Seeing all these different interpretations of gods within a world, and then the powers that they end up inheriting and using to change the world. It's really interesting to see, the different reactions, and Warren Ellis sort of explore this idea of, a really fun idea. I think anyone would have fun exploring this sort of idea of every country sort of making their own super god and having them, either be given a task or them sort of doing whatever they want to do, of course, given their power set. But it's really, really cool. And again, a fun little exploration of an idea, which is always good with Warren Ellis because he gets crazy. He doesn't hold back, and he always interweaves things really nicely. So I really recommend Super God. Definitely not for kids. It is Avatar Press. So be wary. You should know what you're getting into. Very graphic content. So this next book is not, it's not necessarily a book I would recommend to very many people, but I am curious to know what other people think. It is Station 16 by Eve and Herman Hupen, who have done a whole bunch of really really great, these sort of sci-fi mystery Twilight Zone type books, and this is one of them. It explores sort of this group of Russians who gets a emergency call message from this Station 16, and essentially what they do is they head over there, and things start going crazy. It used to be a nuclear weapon test site, and radiations in the air, whatever it may be, things start getting out of control, and so you start sort of seeing this plot unravel where it's sort of like you're jumping through time and space and alternate realities, maybe even. Again, I'm trying not to spoil too much, but give you a sense of what you're sort of seeing. You start. Again, I don't want to spoil much because it's a very, very short book. This is, again, another book you'll read in a sitting, not very long at all, but it's a nice little exploration of a fun idea, again, which is the point of a lot of these stories, thinking about things that could be cool if they happen, but likely have not. The artwork is a little hit or miss for me at times. It's not, it's not necessarily my style, and sometimes the faces don't look too great. But again, it's a unique book at least. I don't read too much of this sort of sci-fi supernatural stuff, so maybe it's a copy of another idea. But either way, I really enjoyed it. I think it's a fun little book, a nice little break from the superhero comics, especially. It's the way I'd say it is it's a fun idea, and the execution definitely could have been better, but it's not bad for what it is. And like I said, it's unique and a nice change of pace. So Station 16 I recommend for someone looking for something very obscure and different. Last but not least, Hard Boiled, Frank Miller, Jeff Darrow. Wow, this is a wild ride of a book. I believe Jeff Darrow won an Eisner Award for this one, and I believe he deserves it. This was a story. Apparently, there's a little bit of backstory to this book. So Jeff Darrow apparently was given a script by Frank Miller. He sort of did his own thing, and Frank Miller had to adapt the script based on the artwork that Jeff gave him. Let me tell you though, the artwork is spectacular. This is some of the most detailed artwork I've ever seen in my life. I spoke about Shaolin Cowboy by Jeff Darrow in another video, and I really enjoyed the artwork in that as well. But there's something about Hard Boiled, maybe it's all the technology and the technology and the craziness, all the vehicles and the density that he fits into this city is absolutely insane. It doesn't make any logical sense, but it's so cool to see in the book. And then you start seeing him do these one panel, one page sequences where you sort of see it really like a 9 panel page spread out over one page. It's really really wonderful to see. He's such a fantastically detailed artist with a really creative mind. There's a lot of craziness happening, but the story is essentially this tax man. He's a tax collector who it turns out he's a robot who has other missions really in mind from his creators, and he sort of starts going crazy, losing his mind as any robot would in that situation. It's a really crazy book. It's super frantic. It's all over the place. It's action packed. And it's a really, at the end of the day, I don't really know if you're necessarily going to read this for the story. It's not the most feel good book, but it's really cool to see Jeff Darrow go crazy and Frank Miller wrap a story around it. It's actually pretty fun. It's actually pretty fun, especially if you're a fan of the '90s. And all those action movies back then. This is just for you. Hardboiled Frank Miller, Jeff Darrow, absolutely love it. I would get it just for the artwork itself. This is probably the best way to read it. I don't know if there's a larger edition than this. If there is, let me know down in the comments below. I'd be very curious to know how large they get, because Jeff Darrow's art, I'm not joking, it's insanely detailed. And I believe this version's recolored. So the colors are a little different than the images I've been showing, but it's still magnificent. I can't recommend Hardboiled enough. All right, people, that was 5 more short comic stories that I recommend checking out to sort of break things up a little bit. Get your mind sort of in a different place. Try something new. If you're looking for obscure titles, hopefully some of those were unknown to you, and now you can check them out yourself. Let me know down in the comments below if you guys are enjoying this series. I still plan to do more. There are a whole lot of these stories from, especially the other publishers that I know a lot of people haven't checked out. And I think showing the artwork and stuff helps too. But let me know what you guys think down below. If you haven't subscribed already, please be sure to do so now. Hit the notification bell so you know whenever we post a new video. We do so regularly. We also go live at least once a week. We are having our book club starting this week. I believe this weekend we're going to be doing a little live stream for that. So if you're interested in that, I will leave a link down in the description below for an application called Line. That will essentially be how you reach out to us. There's also going to be the usernames to look up once you download this Line app down in the description below. So thank you all very much for tuning in. This is Mike from the Hardcover Comic. As always, until next time, you stay classy, Internet.